County Planning and Zoning Commission order for Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Mark?
Here.
James? Brett? Tate?
Here.
Eric?
Here.
Dan?
Here.
George?
Here.
Barry?
Here.
Sherelle?
We do have a quorum. We'll proceed. You've got the minutes from the March 20th meeting. What are the wishes?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. New business. We've got a couple public hearings tonight. First one is Ed Rentamataki on behalf of Roger Marilyn Baker for a variance for 2 newly created lots to remain in the agricultural zoning district, and they are in Hoffman Township. Ms. Michelle.
Okay, so the first one we have today is LU-0006-25. Ed Rentamaki on behalf of Roger and Marilyn Baker. They're requesting a variance for 2 newly created lots to remain in the agricultural zoning district that do not meet the minimum required acreage. This is located in the south half of the southeast of Section 10, Township 154 North, 96 West, which is Hoffland Township. Hoffland Township is governed by Williams County, so no township comment was solicited. The applicant is requesting a minor subdivision, which will create 3 lots. The parent property is approximately 78.95 acres and is within the agricultural zoning district. The newly created lots will be approximately 74.93 acres, 2.07 acres, and 2.07 acres. The larger lot will remain in the agricultural zoning district, while the applicant is requesting the variance for the 2 smaller 2.07 acre lots to also remain in the agricultural zoning district. Purpose of this minor subdivision is to create lots for Roger and Marilyn's children to build homes on in the future. Access to the newly created lots will be taken off of 52nd Street Northwest. Minor subdivision is currently going through the review process with the necessary county departments, and the lots will be known as MS 25-0008 and MS 25-009 and MS 25-0010. Recordation of the plat will be contingent on the approval of the variance.
You good? Okay, any questions for Michelle at this time? Okay, Barry, are you the only one on the phone? Is Barry the only one on the phone? Okay. Okay, with that being said, I will open up the hearing. This is a public hearing. Is there any public input? Yep, if you wish to speak, I'm sorry. If you wish to speak, just come on up to the podium, state your name, and we'll go from there.
All right. So, good evening. My name's Kevin Reichling. I'm with ExxonMobil. I coordinate our developments here in the Bakken. I'm joined by Nicole Bemmett, our surface landman, and Andrew Carter, our attorney. Just to clarify, XTO Energy is an affiliate of ExxonMobil. The land in question on the screen here overlaps with a planned oil and gas well pad that's in this area. It is part of our Grinnell Bakken unit development and has been planned since as far back as 2019. This particular well pad was surveyed at the time with the landowner's knowledge, with the intent to essentially align on roadways and infrastructure planned for the area to accommodate some of the agricultural operations in the area. Over the last few years, we've invested over $1 billion in the Bakken developments, completing wells and building out infrastructure in preparation for the GBU, the Grinnell Bakken unit I mentioned, plus the HBU, which is immediately to the east, the Hoffman Bakken unit. As early as this January, we mobilized a drilling rig to the area, to the HBU, to begin development, with the intent, once HBU is developed, we'll go and develop GBU, which this well pad in question is part of. Unfortunately, we have not found a suitable alternative location for this well pad without causing pretty significant drilling challenges and ultimately a loss of resource recovery, which will negatively impact the interest owners associated with this particular unit. We respectfully request that the commission deny the variance given the circumstances I mentioned. We've also expressed concerns around similar conversation with this well pad around a frac sand mine in this area back in January. We do continue to be willing to work together to figure out the best way to co-develop this, whether it be the frac sand mine or the houses, and continue to be open to figure out what the right solution is for everybody involved. But we do ask you to take into consideration our planned development, given the well pad it's exact on top of the subject land in this area. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. What we'll do is we'll go through the hearing. If we have questions, then we'll ask you to come back up.
All right, appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Any public input?
My name is Roger Baker, and that is my land. Do you have a input from Energy Sand Solutions? And you guys approved that this would all be for sand mining in your January commission meeting? If you could read that.
Okay, so Energy Sand Solutions LLC. To whom it may concern, it is my understanding that Roger Baker is developing 2 residential lots to be located on the southeast portion of Section 10 of his land located in Williams County. This location is in the same area as Energy Sand Solutions LLC has a current CUP with Williams County and Roger Baker. Energy Sand Solutions and Roger Baker have and will continue to work hand in hand with the development of both of these projects, and Energy Sand Solutions has no conflicts with Roger developing the residential lots on Section 10. Thank you, Andy Thomas, President.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where those 2 lots are the highest spot on that east 40 acres. And we were approached 10 years ago by XTO's drilling superintendent, and I told them then that there was going to be lots there. I guess you can see that the one location in Section 15 in 2010 that screwed up the part or the full circle of the irrigation that I had at that point. I didn't own that land, still don't own that land. So consequently, that pivot goes back and forth inefficiently. XTO wanted a pipeline on the west side of Section 9, on the southeast of 9, last year. And we allowed them to do that. And it was at that point they finally paid us for damages of the disruption of all the irrigation over the past 15 years. So when the county approved this permit, I was notified that I had 20 days and they were going to commence operations. They wanted to put 7 wells on a pad in that southeast. Their initial plan was that they would come in on the north side and I'd have to shorten all those pivots. And I put a pivot in that far east 40 acres there 10 years ago. We've only run it intermittently, which is why it doesn't show that. And so last year we put a new one in there in anticipation of expanding the sand mining operation. I was notified in October that they did not have any permits in section 10, only 2, 3, 11, and 12. And we started the process of getting this rezoned at that point. And like I said, in January, when the county gave us the permit, that's when they said they were going to put 7 wells in there. Instead of putting more wells in section 15, they're going to go in section 3 and go 3 miles underneath. Then across the river, they're going to come back 3 miles from the south. It just happens that section 2, 10, 15, and 26, that section of the unit is 8 miles from north to south. So everybody else is doing 4-mile laterals, but XTO, I guess, isn't competent enough to do that. So talking with Michelle earlier, I have a building permit to put lots on there. My son would have been here. He's already got his address changed and everything to move into that, be a permanent residence, but he had to get his wife off the plane in Bismarck, so couldn't be here this evening. So with the sand mining operation, and I explained to Michelle that all it amounts to is that you just leave that high spot there for those 4 acres and continue to slope it all the way down and mine everything there. I can't convince XTO or the rest of the people that this sand mine here will save them $500 million in freight. So this 2 acres and 2 2-acre lots is what I'm requesting that. And like I said, Andy and Energy Sand Solution has no problem with that 4 acres out of there. XTO's initial access to this thing, like I said, shortening the pivots, eliminating 40 acres. When they showed up, they said there's sand there for 2,700 oil wells. So that's why we want the lots there. Any questions?
Not yet. If we do, though, Roger, we'll have you come back up. All right, thank you. Okay, this is a public Are you done, Roger? Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there any public input? Last time, any public input? Close the hearing. Questions? I do have a quick question. If you guys have questions, I guess just fire away. Is there a reason? I guess this is back to XTO. Can't you go closer to the highway on the north side of the highway and drill south, being that there's oil wells along 1804 already, and you're going lateral to the south? Yeah, if you would.
The only other thing that when you expanded on that, they wanted to put this pad in there that, if you can see the corner of that 40 acres is X'd out of there, that's the high water mark of the lake. So they're going to be within 100 yards of that if they build a location.
So I don't know, Kevin, you want to answer the?
Yes, so I think, and hopefully this will help answer your question, but there are wells coming off of the pad that go north, section 11, up 2 miles, and then there are 3-mile laterals going south through section 14, and so you have the lake immediately to the south. And so given the 3-mile length of the wells, you're trying to make sure your pad is appropriately positioned, given the wells running south through section 14, 23, and 36. It's positioned on top of that. It's slightly larger and a little to the north, but yep.
So those two, I would say off to the west, are those two current pads where the rigs are sitting currently right now?
That is an existing pad there to the west. Given the length over to where the laterals were run, it would result in some pretty challenged drilling and ultimately loss of resources.
Boundary of that frac sand line.
So if you're looking at the map where you see like the little blue, go just to the other edge. That's going to be the west boundary.
No, that's east.
Or east.
Yeah, the southeast. The center
Yeah, so then there's, nope, you're fine. Do you want to click on that parcel for me, like the big parcel? And then click the arrow button. That's the whole outline of the frac sand. If he clicks out, I think it'll unhighlight it, but. And then it goes over to that parcel that has the big. Yeah.
Paid for this, for the pad site itself to the owners?
We are in the process of negotiating that and have been for
Okay. And just so everybody understands, the zoning, we're dealing with zoning and whatever have you, and not minerals. The minerals, that's a state issue. Unfortunately, it's not ours. They do what they want to do. They don't tell us where they're going to drill. They just say that's where we're going and that's how we deal with it. So just so you guys understand, those are two separate issues that really are combating with us tonight, whether it's good or bad. Just so you guys know, that's two separate issues out here. And we don't get to dictate where the oil well goes.
We have a say in this, or what?
We don't.
State put them where they want, or what?
You gotta use your mic.
Sorry. I guess I'm backing up to where it just seems like we've never had a say where a well pad goes. So if they're saying the well pad's going there, we can't tell them no, can we? Or am I wrong?
Maybe I'm not. Are you asking if we could tell the applicant no, or where the well pad no, or the oil company?
No, if an oil company comes and says we're putting a well pad here, we have no say as our board.
Correct. Yeah, we have no say in anything, any activities on an oil or gas pad, where they're located, activities that they may perform, and so that's not something that staff that we can or do weigh into the equation when applicants come forward, whether it's a zone change, subdivision, or even for a matter of building permit. It's typically a private agreement that's made between the company and the mineral owner. There are state laws that say, I think there's a percentage that they're allowed to access the surface to get to the minerals, but again, that's not something that counties are involved in. It's completely handled through the Industrial Commission.
So if they go to the state and say we're putting a well pad here, that trumps whatever we do here tonight then, correct?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because we don't really have any direct communication with anyone at the Industrial Commission, and that's pretty standard that they approve things that they don't weigh any zoning or local zoning issues that I'm aware of.
Okay. It's an interesting problem. So Rogers followed the protocol to do what he wants to do. He's within the parameters of the current of the zoning. XTO's followed the protocol and got the proper permits through the state for drilling. Hold on, Raj, hold on. So, assuming you followed the process, you got your permits from everything well's been identified. We go against what Roger does, we're creating a consequence legally, is right.
Hey, can you hear me, Tate?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was having issues with
Your
my
mic's
phone
not
here.
Oh,
but
it's my.
I think I think the big issue is I mean, we do not get to dictate where wells are sited, but there is a setback. I believe it's 750 feet, or it may only be 500 feet from an occupied residence that for a well pad. But I have a hard time believing that two 2-acre lots can pose this much of a problem. I just don't, sooner or later the surface owner's got to be able to have some rights also. But that's, anyway, I just wanted to say that out loud.
Nope, I appreciate that. Thanks, Barry. Anybody else wish to add?
Does the state actually issue a permit for a well pad, and has this one been permitted?
The permit was submitted last month. It's still pending.
So say if we were to approve Rogers and they move it, would your kids want to live within 500 feet of a well? If they just move it to where they legally can put it? I mean, would they want to live there?
You can come up, Roger. It's okay.
Speak into your mics better.
So I'm just going back on what Mr. Ramberg said. So just hypothetically say, okay, we approve your 2 lots. Well, they move their pad over to where they're drilling 500 feet from your son's house. You think he's going to want to live there? Not very bad. I just don't see a win situation here.
And that's my point. I don't think we have a basis.
Can-
If he falls within the parameters, what he's been asked to do, you keep the emotion side out of it. We have no reason, and I'm speaking for myself, to say no to Roger, what he's trying to accomplish. However, if we do that, are we then putting ourselves in a lawsuit now with the XTO, Roger, and the county and so on? You know what I'm getting at? I mean,
I have an idea.
yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
I do. I understand what you're getting at, Tate, but I don't think we're opening ourselves up to anything because these smaller than normal lots, we've done this before in that same general area because they're lakefront lots. We only have so many of them, and just speaking on my personal, but I think it would be just fantastic to be able to live, along the river down there. And there's oil wells everywhere. There's only so much ground that we can supply lakefront acreage. I don't see the issue. I'm thinking the surface owner, there is no permit for that well, or that well pad. There's right now, I don't see a a problem. I mean, if he wants to use his land as he sees fit, I believe that is a private property right, and that's my opinion.
Thanks, Barry. Go ahead, Dan.
I agree with Barry. It's lakefront property on the nicest stretch of beach from Brainerd, Minnesota to California. I think the housing trumps a well site that could be moved with the stroke of a pencil. I think you guys would.
Any other questions? Okay, we're good for the moment. Okay, how do you guys want to proceed? I did.
I'll make it. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Hold on, Barry. Dan made a motion to approve
that's okay.
approve the variance with staff comments.
I would second that.
And we have a second. Any further discussion?
I want to make it clear in my mind, if we approve this oil company has every right to put a pad 500 feet from these people's new house. Am I correct there? I wouldn't want to live that close to it. Oil's what I'm saying. I just want to make that clear. Okay.
Okay, any other comments? Roll call, please.
George?
Yes.
Mark?
No.
Dan?
Yes.
Sherelle?
No.
Eric?
Yes.
Brett? Barry?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes. Motion is what?
Carried.
Pardon me?
Carried.
Okay. So from here, it's gonna go to the county commission. I would suggest showing up at the county commission, and have further dialogue with Roger. I mean, I know this is one of those, it's just like, God dang it.
No win.
It's a no-win for a lot of us, but anyway, that's just our thought. Okay. Next one is Jane Ewing for Magna Services on behalf of Kevin Mischke for a CUP to construct a freshwater holding pond. This is up north in Cow Creek Township. Miss Michelle.
Okay, so this one is LU-0008-25. Jaden Ewing with Magnus Services on behalf of Kevin Mischke. They're requesting a conditional use permit to construct a freshwater holding pond. This project is located in the south half of the northwest of Section 9, Township 156 North, Range 102 West, which is Cow Creek Township. Cow Creek Township is governed by Williams County, so no township comment was solicited on this one either. The applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to construct a freshwater pond on the subject property. The parcel is a total of approximately 80 acres. However, the site will consist of approximately 20 acres. According to the applicant, the pond will be 387,666 BBLS, which is 49.97 acre feet. It'll be approximately 500 feet by 419 feet by 15 feet deep, with a maximum slope of 3:1. The pond will be lined with a 30 mil polypropylene. Purpose of this pond is for storage of fresh water to be utilized in oil well production. The water will be pumped out of the holding pond by diesel trailer mounted pumps. Site will have fencing around it. And the applicant has an industrial groundwater permit for the area, which will supply the water for the holding pond. Access to the freshwater pond is off of 145th Avenue Northwest, utilizing a 2-track access road south of the farmyard. That is all.
Thank you. Any questions for Michelle?
Can we get the map moved?
Didn't this come before us 6 months ago or something, or is this a different one?
This is a different one. Tis the
So there's
season
Two
for,
of them on the same property?
nope, not on this property. It's very close to it, but I believe it's close to it, but it's not the same property.
Okay, any questions for Michelle? You coming? Because I'm going to open it up. You're good. Okay, I'll open up the public hearing. Go for it.
Hello, guys. I'm Jaden Ewing with Magna Services, 12638 32nd Street Northwest out of Watford. Yes, Dan, it is about 5-6 miles to the east of that one that was in question that happened about 6 months ago.
Is there anything?
Nope, just any questions? Yeah,
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Jaden, will it be fenced?
it will be fenced.
Will those in swim trunks be able to get through the fence?
They, hopefully not, but it's a possibility.
That's way too much
Well,
information.
I don't want Kevin to get hung up on the fence.
That's a fair question, Kevin. All right, we're good for now. We'll get you back up. Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. Any public input? Any public input? Last time, any public input? Close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board? Anybody?
I will make a motion to approve the application with staff comments.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Barry,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Sherelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Brett, Tate.
Yes, motion carries. Next one, Greg Nelson with Select Water on behalf of Gene and Penny Moe for a freshwater pump station. This is out in Pleasant Valley Township. Ms. Michelle.
Okay, so this particular one is LU-0009-25. Greg Nelson with Select Water on behalf of Eugene and Penny Moe are requesting a conditional use permit to construct a freshwater pump station. This is located in the northeast of Section 24 of Township 156 North, Range 95 West, which is Pleasant Valley Township. And the township did recommend approval on this project. The applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to construct a freshwater pump station. Project site will consist of approximately 45 by 35 foot building to house the freshwater pumps and will contain an approximately 6.9 acre freshwater pond. Subject property is within the agricultural zoning district. The building will be unmanned except for the occasional people there for routine maintenance. This pond location will be the end point for the freshwater pipeline. As per the detailed plans, the site will be fenced. The freshwater will be utilized for oil well production. Access to the project site will be taken off of 99th Avenue Northwest.
Any questions for Ms. Michelle? Okay. We're good. If not, I'll open up the hearing. This is a public hearing. Any public input? Any public input? Last time, any public input? We'll close the hearing. Are the applicant, are they here?
They're on the phone.
You're here?
I am present on phone.
Okay, who's that?
My name is Greg Nelson with Select Water.
Okay. Couple questions, Greg. Where are you pumping this water from?
This comes from our existing intake down on the lake near Lund's Landing. And it comes up via an 18-inch poly pipeline. We've got 2 other storage ponds along the way that were approved last year that we've completed construction on. And this is the terminus of our pipeline.
And all the easements, you have all the easements in place to pump the water into this facility?
Yes, the pipeline is fully constructed up to this site.
Okay, so this is legitimately just a holding pond, I guess.
This is a storage and transfer facility. Yes, the pump house is built intending to, if we wanted to move water from this pond back to one of our other two ponds down to the south, just gives us that flexibility.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? What are the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
I would make a motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Barry, you're good.
I would make a motion to approve following staff comments.
Is there a second to that? We have a motion to approve in a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Sherelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Brett, Barry,
Yes.
Tate.
Next, we have Mike, I don't know how to say that correctly.
Gina.
Gina?
Sheena. Yeah.
Gina. Mr. Mike with Ram Exploration for CUP to construct an operative frac sand facility. This property is currently located in Hoffland Township.
Okay, so I learned tonight from Sherelle that you guys did not get this staff report in your packet. I was also not able to print it, but I thought that it was just a me issue today. I had to have Cameron actually print mine, so I apologize. So this is LU-0012-25, Mike Chena with Ramsey Hill Exploration. They're requesting an amendment to their approved conditional use permit to construct and operate their frac sand facility. This is located in the north half of the northeast of Section 18, southeast and the southeast-southwest, Government Lot 4, which is the southwest-southwest, and northeast of Section 7. All of Township 154 North, Range 96 West, which is Hoffland Township. Again, this township is governed by Williams County, so no township comment was solicited. The applicant is requesting an amendment to their approved conditional use permit that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners on March 4th of 2025. This amendment is adding additional lands to the north of 52nd Street Northwest. The applicant has been working to secure these lands in hopes to prolong the need of mining south of 52nd Street Northwest. Like the previous CUP, the applicant anticipates the mining area to be excavated to depths between 20 and 50 feet. It is their intention to utilize the unused clay to refill the mining pits and will be continuously reclaiming the areas as they go. The applicant states that the elevation post-mining should be approximately 1,865 feet, with the starting elevation prior to the mining at about 1,900 feet. Access to the added subject properties will be off of 110th Avenue Northwest. This one, we did receive that public comment from the Freeborgs that I had emailed out to you guys, and it's now attached to our project or to our staff report online. One of their comments in their letter was about the letter that we send out as County Planning and Zoning Office to residents in the area. With the mapping that we send out, it outlines the entire project as you'll see here. And it also included the previous lands as well. I had asked our GIS department to include those so people could see the project as a whole. And they were concerned that the quarter-mile setback that had been talked about and approved and talked with Ramsey Hill was no longer there because it's not drawn in. When we have GIS draw out these parcels for our mapping, they use the entire parcel. They don't put in the setbacks on there for us. As per our letter, we do always say that we have the site plans, things like that, the additional application materials available for people of the public to look at. If they would have reached out and seen those materials, it has the site plan that shows the quarter-mile setback that had been talked about and agreed upon earlier.
Any questions for Ms. Michelle?
So
Okay.
the additional land is the part that's on the north up there?
Yep, so what we did is for the bookmark, we just bookmarked the additional land so you can just see that. So it's everything, it's north of 52nd Street Northwest. And I know they had been in talks prior with some of those landowners, but it just wasn't, nothing was finalized prior to the original application.
And how many acres is that?
I know that the original was.
So on this additional lands, the estimated acreage that would be actually be mined is about 135 to 140 acres, depending on how, how the sand lays in there. So obviously there's a lot more, that's highlighted than that, but predominantly everything south of that drainage that crosses. You can kind of see that. Yeah. So those lands south of that, and the one that juts out to the west, probably about half of that could be mined. I don't know that there'll be anything beyond that we can go after. Yeah. But like I say, about 135, 140 acres, if I remember right. It depends on, No, south of that drainage, but we're north of.
Yeah, north of 52nd, but south of the drainage. Right where your pen is, right there. Yep.
So this is added on to your original CUP? So how many acres in your original one? 1,900?
No, that's just if you had all the quarter sections up. I mean, it was, I think, about 500 acres, potentially that could be mined all told. Honestly, I haven't looked at it in a while because I've been working on other things, and nothing's changed really other than adding this little bit here from our previous approval. And like Michelle had mentioned, part of the purpose was to acquire a reserve that would keep us from the south side of 52 and, disrupting the neighbors down along the lake there. This is up here could last us 5 to 7 years, on this new portion. So.
Close the hearing?
No, on the original CUP, the land that was granted north of 52nd, it was talked about, it was gonna take like 5 years to mine that out originally, correct?
Hold on, Barry. Can you answer that, Mike? How many years that would take on the north side of that, Barry, on the north side of 51st or 52nd? How many years that take to mine that first section out or portion out?
On the original approval?
On the original approval, Barry?
Correct, yeah. I guess, my memory was, I thought it was supposed to be like 5+ years before you would even have to think about getting south of 52nd. So this, you're just talking about 5 to 7 years. Is that another 5 to 7 years, or is it 5 to 7 altogether?
Probably just 5 to 7. The other portions to the north is primarily going to be for the processing facility and the load out. We did a little bit more exploration on the Sheldon and Schmidt parcels there, and proved to not be the reserve that we estimated. So the mining will start on the Woodrow Savine property that we're seeking approval tonight on. And like I say, the original stuff on the north is primarily just going to be for the processing plant.
Well, but the processing plant, your loadout facility where the killing and all that stuff, that was, we talked about that at quite a length. And we were told that there was enough sand there to mine for, if I'm just certain it was supposed to be, I got 5 years stuck in my head, but maybe it was like 4, something like that. But I mean, it was a few years. And I was just curious as to why it's still the same amount of years, but we need to add this extra acreage to it.
That because we did some further exploration over there, and the sand reserve isn't what we anticipated it to be. It didn't trend as far north as we thought. It's overlain by a significant layer of clay on most of that, so that was another reason, that we wanted to bring these other parcels on the north side in.
Sure. I mean, well, I get that, but I would have, myself, I would have thought you would have done a little exploration and, know what you have before you get this far, I guess. But
well, honestly, the original intent was to mine everything and start south of Highway 50 or County 52.
Yep.
And, we got significant pushback from the local people living along the lake, and made these, modifications.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. I was just, I know you're working at trying to stay away from the lake property down there, but I was just curious. I mean, I'm just wondering,
Well, that's fine. I was just trying to explain what I feel, how things went the way they did.
Yep. Sure.
Go ahead. Hang tight, Mike. Go ahead.
Mike, I know we talked about this last winter, but when it's all done, what are these areas going to look like? Are they going to look like a gravel pit, or are they going to look like irrigated land with checks around it? What are these going to look like?
It's gradual slopes, because like it was kind of stated in the narrative. We'll bring it down to a lower elevation, filled in with our waste material of the clays and oversized sand in a blend. Re-topsoil that, and basically it'll be agricultural land again, but it'll be a mild depression, down to that lower elevation with I think we had a 4-to-1 slope, coming in from the edges. So we'll gradual slope down, then flatten out on the bottom, and then come back up. And that was one of, the requests of Bill Sheldon, that he was going to be able to farm his again when we were done, and that he could still operate his pivots on that. That's basically the design. So fields again, not barren ground or sand and loose material.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there any public input? Any public input? Last
Yeah,
time.
this is Jim Freeburg. I have some input, please.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everybody. And first off, thank you, Michelle, for the excellent clarification on the quarter-mile setback. That was very helpful. My family owns a lot and a home at Red Mike, down on 51st Street. And we rely on well water for that home. And all along, we've been concerned about the mining activity potentially affecting the quality of the water. As you probably know, and heard Mike say just a moment ago, the mine pits will be refilled from the material rejected from the processing plant, which also includes the chemicals used to separate the materials from the plant. And with some of the pits being 50 feet deep, the bottoms of those pits will be within feet of the water table. So whatever chemicals are in that material are close to the water table. So these questions have been brought up before at the info meetings and this meeting and the county commission meeting, and the response from Ramsey Hill has always been, it's the same chemicals used in the water treatment plants, no need to worry about it, it's safe. They may be right, but given well water is involved, which can impact the health of residents at Red Mike, I feel like it would be prudent to dig a little harder and provide a little more evidence why our well water won't be harmful due to chemical contamination. You know, nothing's ever that simple. Maybe they buy the same chemicals as a water treatment plant, but a chemical process involves adding the chemicals to the process. There's some sort of reaction, and the outcome is different products, different chemical compounds, which are then returned to the pit. We don't know what any of that is. We just know that they're referred to as clarifying thickeners and flocculants in the original request for CUP. So again, given the potential impacts, we think it's prudent to provide a little more basis for why these materials will be safe. The other question is, we really should know what kind of concentrations are going to be involved in this material returned to the pits. Because as we all know, cities add fluoride, a little bit of fluoride to drinking water, and that's okay. But a lot of fluoride is bad. Same thing in swimming pools, a little chlorine is okay, too much is not good. So how do we know what the chemical concentrations are? And if that is an important factor, how is that controlled? How do we know the workers will be maintaining it correctly, et cetera? Are they trained? Everything like that. So requesting some more information to prove to us why this is all okay. The other thing is, they haven't said, and the CUP doesn't require any certain chemical. They can, right now, use whatever they want. And if they decide down the road that there's something cheaper or better to use, and they go ahead and buy that chemical and use it. How do we know? How do we know it's safe? How are we protected? So it seems, if it's not controlled somewhere else, some other state department, it seems prudent to specify in the CUP what chemicals they are allowed to use, and if they change, they need to come back and get approval. Because even a well-intended change could have adverse effects. So again, we're just concerned, and we're trying to protect ourselves from some problems with the health of our well water. And the last thing I wanted to mention was that, given that we're all potentially affected by well water concerns, that all of us down at Red Mike, it would seem fair that Ramsey Hill would take some water samples prior to beginning mining, and also do some periodic testing, say annually, and share those results with the residents. Take a little work, take a little money, but I think, again, it's prudent to protect the health and safety of the people who live at Red Mike. That's what I have to say. Appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, is there any other public input? Close the hearing.
Tate, I do have a question.
Yep.
Does anyone supervise, is there any supervision of these kind of operations? Like somebody checks on what chemicals are used or any state supervision or anything like that?
Well, I know MSHA has stuff to do. I'm not sure if they do anything with chemicals. I don't know what all MSHA oversees.
Are you able to answer that, Mike, by chance?
Somewhat. I mean, MSHA oversees the safety of the workers or the miners. They'll inspect with, our facilities with a fine-tooth comb and look, under every nook and cranny and make sure that nothing's unsafe. It's a very large statute regulations book they have. Specifically to chemicals, I mean, they're not going to look at, usage rates or anything. They're more concerned if we've got a leak on one of the holding tanks and it makes the floor slippery and our miner could fall and, twist his ankle. So to that question, no MSHA. And typically this, in our other locations, it's oversought by the state, which North Dakota doesn't have, the industrial doesn't regulate sand and gravel, so to speak. So our operation's basically exempt from that. Their focus is more on coal mines. But we do have state regulations and agencies in Wyoming and Utah that we have to abide by. But you guys are basically it here in North Dakota.
Are your chemicals like a proprietary mix? So there's no reason why you can't provide people with what chemicals you're using and the concentrations?
I have it with me. I mean, in our prior meeting, I had our representative for the company, the expert in that area here to address those questions. So I guess I didn't anticipate, something that was already approved, but I have the chemical names.
I guess my question is, that could be provided to the landowners that have concerns about this.
Yes.
Well, would not the DEQ have a say in oversight on what gets put back into the mine, right?
They only oversee the air quality and water in regards to stormwater and discharges off location. This is internally drained in a closed loop system, so stormwater that falls on the properties in the permit, are contained. They do not run off outside the property boundaries.
Well, but DEQ regulates and watches over our disposals of landfills, and they periodically check. They require sample well, and they pull water up and check quality of the water. I don't really see why this would not fit right into what they already do.
Landfill's different than a sand mine, so I don't know that they do that. Not to my knowledge.
Well, but you're I agree, but if you're digging stuff up and you're putting portions of it back, it's really principally that's the same thing, right? You're putting stuff back into the ground or on the ground or I would think that they would have, I'd be really surprised if they wouldn't have something in their toolbox that wouldn't have some sort of oversight on the water quality specifically, but my opinion.
Not to my knowledge, and if they did, we'll follow whatever regulations they would have. I mean, we're putting sand and
Sure.
and clays back into the ground, which was there in the first place, with basically a household and water treatment, flocculant material that's used in many household, products, that has a half-life that breaks down and is going to have a buffer of one of the most, the best natural filters there is sand below it.
Correct. I agree, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike, if you were.
And just in any of our other facilities, we're not required to monitor any of, the water usage, in that regard, what Mr. Freeborg was saying. But that's, you guys' decision on how that's handled. I'm saying that's not been the states and the other mines haven't requested that.
Okay, any other questions since Mike is up here? Anything else for the moment? Yep.
Where is Mr. Freeborg's property in relation to this?
I don't remember what specific house his is. It's down along the bottom there, along the lake with the other, that development.
Mr.
Yeah,
Freeland,
this
are
is-
you still on?
This is Jim. We're a couple lots to the west of Bill Sheldon's residence. 11038 is our house number.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, any other questions for Mike at this time? Okay, we're good for now, Mike.
Thanks.
Okay, so couple things. One is we could approve, you cannot approve, or you can table it to get the information in our packet. Just and that's not a discredit, that's okay. To make sure we understand what we're getting. Not taking away from you guys or anything of that sort. I just think I'm not comfortable saying yes or no to something I haven't read. Whether it's all tied together, that's great and dandy, but that's just me. Even though he's not changing the use, it's the same thing he's done to the south. It's just
So are them, Michelle, are them houses up in the corners there where the green dots are?
So one, there is, I think, a water depot. So that's a farmstead there, or like farm buildings. I don't think there's a house there. I didn't see one.
Farm. And the other stuff says substation in the wall.
Yeah, the substation is the other one there. And then that's Bill Sheldon's farm.
So basically the closest residence is down there in that subdivision, quarter mile away or whatever it is?
So that yellow strip right there, there is a home there as well. I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Sorry, I was muted, but I believe that isn't that Spencer
It
Littlefield?
is, yep.
Yep.
That's probably a question back to Mike. Mike, is there a sense of urgency on this? I mean, if we kick it for one more till the next meeting, it won't be a public hearing because we've already honored that. But at least we have the information, we can make a responsible decision. I mean, this is going to the north, so I would like to think you're gonna start, further to the south, so I would like to think it wouldn't, but I don't know.
The initial approval, which led to the further discovery, and then finding that the reserves point weren't enough there to justify the investment with just those parcels, and this is the one we want to start on. I'd like to have a decision, but it's up to you guys. But in terms of the amount of dollars and the timeline and the process involved, tabling in another month, then, Bill and Ken and Woodrow, it just pushes all of the things that we're trying to get done. We can't order equipment or, make the project happen. So
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, so how do you want to proceed on this one? In my opinion, those are the three choices.
I move we approve with staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion to approve with staff comments and a second. Any further discussion? Barry, did you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to, I mean, they're doing all they can to stay away from the cabins at Red Mike, and I appreciate that. That's great.
Yep.
My opinion.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Okay,
Shrill, I guess I got a comment. In your motion, would you mind putting that they do the well testing out there, that somebody does that for these people? So that at least they can get their wells tested to make sure something doesn't change?
Can we use our mics?
use the mic, sorry.
I did, sorry.
I think doing the water testing would make sense, but there needs to be a plan to it. I mean, they doing some initial testing and then how often and so forth, and I don't know how to put that exactly into the motion. I guess I could put it in as staff comments and a plan for doing some initial water testing, and then I've come up with a plan for ongoing testing. And
Well, can I add that, back where I grew up, because there was disposal wells pretty much around the farmstead, Hess or Amrad, and then Hess took over, they would come and take water sample, twice a year, send it to, North Dakota or, the state, and then supply the landowner with a copy of the test results. And it is not terribly expensive, it's not terribly inconvenient, and I think it's a really good idea.
well, I kind of do too, since we don't seem to have any state regulations around this kind of thing. So yeah, I would accept an amendment to my motion to include developing a plan for initial and ongoing water testing.
Okay, that is a motion. Do you have a second to that motion? To your amendment?
I've got a second to it, yeah.
Okay, that's a second from Mark. Okay, is there any further discussion on the amendment? Go ahead, Cameron.
Maybe I'm just thinking out loud or just trying to clarify for staff on how to make sure that the conditions of the CUP are followed. Because the CUP was already approved, this is just an amendment to add to northern acreage. With the water testing, that would probably only be for the amended portion because it was already approved. I don't know if that would affect the whole CUP. And again, maybe I'm thinking into it a little deeper, but this is an amendment today. The CUP was already approved without that condition.
You're
So
right, but they're adding to the project, making this project bigger. So I think collectively as a whole, it should tie it together.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that you meant the whole project then.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Well, what I meant is
And
all the
just-
houses,
just- oh,
the
I'm
residences that
sorry.
are surrounding it is what I mean. So yes.
Yeah, and they don't have to drill their own wells. You just need to talk to the resident and just get a pint bottle of water out of their tap and have it tested. I mean, it's not like they gotta drill their own wells for testing or nothing. It's, if the people want their water tested, they will give you a sample and just run it through the state. It's not terribly expensive. It's pretty convenient, actually, so.
Okay, so as far as a schedule, should it be just per owner's request, or do you have a schedule in mind of, we just want to make sure the conditions.
I think you do it initially, Cameron, and then I think you do it twice a year.
Every 6
And
months.
however you figure that out, say every 6 months, I think would be appropriate.
Then could we also add that they provide us with a copy of that so we know that they're doing it?
I would agree.
Yes, we could add that. And I guess this would have to go on as long as there's mining and backfill going on. I guess we have to remember that this is the state where we buried who knows what in pits at well sites all over our whole western half of the state, and we have no idea what's out there.
Jimmy Hoffa. Quick question.
Water disposal, fracking, the agriculture fertilizers versus these food grade flocculants. I just want to make sure that
How I would understand this is, and you speak up if you need, but I'm guessing they're asking to have the water wells tested, or you have a house down the road, have that water tested to make sure it's not being contaminated with whatever chemicals you're using.
Yeah. Yes, and if something else shows up in it, like fertilizer, that's the farmer's problem.
I'm not concerned that it's going to happen. So I just want to clarify that if something else gets it, if a well test came back and it's like, well, we don't even use that chemical.
Yeah, and
Test our, tanks and water to see what is in our water.
And I think that can be drawn out with whatever documents the county can prepare and you guys can all agree to. I mean, we need to be reasonable. But I think that's the intent.
What is the depth of the aquifer out there?
Oh, Roger just left. He would have known. I don't know.
Mike, do you know how deep the water is out there?
Yeah, this is Jim Freeberg. I believe the well at our cabin was drilled down to 68 feet, so the water table would be some amount above that.
Thank you, that's a long way down.
That is.
How many of these tests places are we going to ask them to test? Because you've got groups there where there's 5, 6 houses in a row. Just one sample I think would suffice from that area, and just the stuff that's close. Otherwise, you're going to end up out there 10 miles away.
Yeah, I agree. I think within the compounds of this within this vicinity, whether it's the half mile or 1 mile, but I think the intent is for those people that are living along the south side there. Okay, so we have the amendment to add the water testing initially and then every 6 months thereafter till the project is complete. Do you want a roll call on that? Okay, can I do roll call, please?
Mark,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes?
Sherelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Tate.
Yes. Amendment to the motion carries. Now let's do the motion to approve the project with staff comments. Roll call, please.
Mark,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes?
Sherelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Brett, Barry,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Tate.
No. Motion carries. Old business, nothing. Discussion. Next meeting is May 15th. I wish you all a blessed and happy Easter. Safe travels, Miss Michelle. Anybody else traveling? Can I get a motion to adjourn? and happy tax day.